A group of alligators decided to have lunch at the police station. Can the guards and criminals join forces to survive? Let's find out. A state of emergency and urgent evacuation have been declared in southwestern Louisiana. The reason is a powerful hurricane causing severe flooding. A young man and woman take shelter from the raging storm in someone's house. The man suggests barricading themselves inside and waiting out the hurricane. His name is Clarence, and the girl is Summer. The wind tears one of the doors off. Clarence approaches the entrance, and at that moment, something drags him away. Summer hears a growl. A huge alligator crawls into the house. The girl first tries to run from the hungry reptile and then fights it off with a stick, but it's no use. The alligator wins. Meanwhile, a group of criminals is being transported by prison bus to a correctional facility in Louisiana. Among them are Big Jim, a black man named Jocks, gray-haired Floyd, bearded Angelo, and a particularly dangerous criminal named Russell Cody. Due to the bad weather, the guards can barely see the road. They decide to stop at the nearest police station to wait out the hurricane. The officers remember that the local department is headed by a very attractive female sheriff and decide to pay her a visit. The sheriff's name is Joe Newman, and she actually is very charming. The sheriff's deputy informs her that the bus carrying dangerous prisoners will arrive soon. There are 5 of them, and they'll spend the night at the police station. At the same time, an armed gang led by Rafe Calderon is planning to ambush the prison bus to free Russell. They hope the hurricane will help them carry out their sinister plan. The criminals load their weapons and wait for the bus, not knowing that the driver has unexpectedly changed the route and avoided their trap. The gang immediately rushes after them in pursuit. Joe scolds her assistant, Pine, for the fact that the police station is flooded and orders him to make a path from sandbags. We see that she is a strict and demanding boss. Several alligators approach the sheriff's department. Unaware, Pine descends into the basement and realizes the water has already reached his waist. He looks for sandbags but finds an alligator. Or rather, the predator finds its prey. Pine hears strange sounds and accidentally drops his flashlight into the water. He reaches for it, but the enormous alligator grabs the man by the arm and drags him under the water. The prison bus pulls up to the police station. One of the guards, named Dale, goes to look for the sheriff. The gang, led by Rafe, arrives right after them. Dale greets Joe and tries to flirt with her, but the sheriff isn't interested. Another guard informs the criminals that, due to the hurricane, they have to spend the night at the police station. The prisoners are led off the bus. They're all handcuffed, but still seem quite content, arrogantly staring at the attractive Joe. The criminals are about to be placed in cells. The sheriff reminds them she's in charge here, but the criminals just laugh in response. Looks like they have no respect for her. Joe meets the inmates. Big Jim admits that he's good at only 2 things: rob people and have fun at bars. Jock sarcastically refers to the sheriff as his white mommy. Angelo warns that he has a very tough character. Russell is the most dangerous of them all, as he killed a police officer. Rafe orders his accomplices to start a special operation to free Russell. The prisoners are placed in their cells and have their handcuffs removed. They complain because the floor is flooded and the water keeps rising. Joe gets angry because she can't find Pine anywhere. At that moment, Rafe and his gang attack the police station. A shootout begins. The inmates hear gunfire. The criminals break into the station and demand that the sheriff surrender. One of the guards attempts to stop them, but gets shot. Joe wounds one of the attackers, but the odds are still against her. Realizing this, the sheriff decides to surrender. Joe and her deputy drop their weapons and step out to face the gang. Rafe reveals they've come to free the prisoner named Russell Cody. Joe enters the cell block and tells the guard to lower his gun. Rafe and his gang show up behind her. The guard drops his rifle to the floor and raises his hands. Rafe demands that the sheriff open Russell's cell. The man is set free. The other inmates ask to be released as well, but Rafe is only interested in Russell. The gang locks the guards in an empty cell. Rafe wants to make sure the security cameras are disabled, so he sends his accomplice Carter down to the basement with the sheriff. Meanwhile, the wounded gang member is sitting on the floor, waiting for his teammates to return. But obviously, instead of them, he encounters a massive alligator. Carter and Joe head down to the basement. It's partially flooded. The sheriff spots Pine's jacket and his flashlight. She steps into the water to retrieve it, but along with the flashlight, she pulls up Pine's arm. The massive alligator appears in the basement. Carter fires at the predator, but it dives under the water. Seizing the moment, the alligator lunges at the criminal and turns her into its next meal. Joe manages to escape and even locks the basement door behind her. The criminals hear gunshots. Another shootout? Rafe goes to check it out and spots the head of the wounded gang member floating in the water. He finds a terrified Joe near the basement. That's when another alligator shows up. Looks like there's a whole pack of them inside. Rafe and Joe return to the others, but the alligators are right behind them. One of the beasts grabs Rafe by the leg and drags him underwater. Now the criminals are left without their leader, and panic breaks out. They threaten the sheriff and release all the prisoners from their cells. One of the inmates lunges at Joe, but the slender blonde fights him off. Another prisoner steps out of his cell, but it turns out the sheriff is a martial arts master and easily knocks him out. One of Rafe's men threatens Joe, but unexpectedly, Russell steps in to defend her. The man claims they've got bigger problems than settling scores. If they don't join forces, the alligators will kill them all. The guards are released from their cell. Joe tells them there are at least 4 predators in the station. They've already taken down her deputy Pine and 3 of the gang members. It's time to get out of this place. The criminals have jet skis, but the problem is, there are only 2 of them. Besides, they still have to figure out how to reach them, as giant alligators are swimming right behind the door. Joe suggests going upstairs to wait out the storm. To do that, everyone needs to work together as a team. Neither the inmates nor the guards are thrilled about this, but they have no choice. Joe makes a rope out of prison bed sheets. Using it, people start climbing to the upper floor. No one wants to be the last, since the alligators are trying to break into the cell block, and every second counts. The predators manage to break down the door. Jocks, Floyd, and the sheriff's deputy are still in danger. Jocks climbs up just in time, and the deputy knocks Floyd out to distract the alligator and improve his own chances of survival. Floyd regains consciousness and starts climbing the rope of sheets. He begs Jocks to give him a hand, but the criminal pushes the inmate down and feeds him to the alligators. Floyd fights the predator with all his might, but loses the battle. The sheriff's deputy manages to shoot one of the vicious reptiles, but the second alligator instantly grabs him and avenges its green companion. The surviving people crawl through the ventilation shaft and reach one of the rooms on the top floor. The criminals plan to get rid of the sheriff and the guard, take the jet skis, and escape. Joe realizes they can't be trusted and asks Russell and Jocks to go scouting with her. They climb up to the attic, hoping to find some kind of weapon to fight the alligators. Russell confesses to the sheriff that he's actually not that bad person. Sure, he was a criminal and worked for Rafe, but he never killed anyone. The only reason why the gang came to rescue him is because, during a police raid, he hid the money that Rafe had stolen. Russell is the only one who knows where the stash is hidden. That's why the gang needs him so badly. Alligator crawls up into the attic. Joe and Russell fire a hail of bullets at it. Nevertheless, the predator manages to grab Jocks by the leg. The sheriff tries to save the poor guy, but the alligator manages to turn him into a snack. Angelo decides to betray the others. He attacks the guard and injures Big Jim. After that, Angelo teams up with the last surviving member of Rafe's gang and offers to escape on the jet skis. At that moment, Joe and Russell fall down from the attic, and Rafe's accomplice gets wounded by a piece of rebar. The traitor Angelo also ends up as lunch for one of the alligators. Big Jim tries to tame the predator, skillfully dodging its attacks. For a moment, it seems like he's actually training it, and even tries to ride the alligator. Eventually, Big Jim also meets his end. The alligator crawls toward Joe and Russell. Suddenly, Rafe shows up. He's still alive. The gangster takes down the alligator and hands Joe his rifle. There's only 1 bullet left, but the sheriff isn't planning to shoot the alligators. She wants to blow them up. Russell and Rafe head toward the jet skis. The gang leader wants to escape as quickly as possible, but Russell refuses to leave Joe alone with the alligators. Besides, he clearly remembers that Rafe set him up and betrayed him. A fight breaks out between them. Rafe is stronger and tries to finish Russell off, but at that very moment, Joe blows up the police station. Rafe is blown away by the blast, while Russell manages to survive. He and Joe leave the police station on jet skis. The sheriff promises to tell the authorities that all 5 inmates died during the attack, which means Russell has a chance to start a new life in freedom.